Thank you, Jacob. Nice to see everyone tonight. So I'm just going to read a little bit from something that I wrote. And if you guys were here early on when we first started this, I read a bunch of chapters. So if not, you'll. Here we go. A prerequisite of being a film major at the University of Texas in Austin was taking Advertising 101. I learned three things in that class. One, classes with a 101 in the name have like a vajillion students. Two, vampire creativity in advertising is when a commercial is so creative you forget the brand. And three, sex sells. More on this later. The first acting class I enrolled in Los Angeles was with a teacher named Leslie. Leslie specialized in television comedy, and I learned three things in that class. One, acting is difficult. Two, my cheeks got red and my forehead perspired when I acted in front of people. And three, actors are good people for the most part. Here was the first acting class I had ever taken, and I was pretty green at the time. In scenes, I was a good listener, but when it was time for me to speak lines, I would forget them. It was like magic. I was terrified of reciting lines in front of people. I was so self conscious. I heard through a friend of a friend that our teacher thought I was the worst actor in her class. Why did I stick with it? Because I'm stubborn and I wanted to prove people wrong. I learned right then and there that I had a stigma about myself. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I had a voice. It was time for me to face my deep rooted psychological issues head on. Why didn't I feel worthy? It took years for me to answer this question. I think it stemmed from the insecurity of being the youngest of three boys. I felt like nobody wanted to hear me speak. It was limiting, and I had to find a way to rise above it. Acting class was like therapy. They say what you fear the most, you'll be the best at. Not saying I'm the best at it, but acting in front of people scared the bejesus out of me. Despite my fears, I stuck it out and continued to learn the craft. When I was in Leslie's class, I became friends with a working actor named Ryan. Ryan was a California surfer type with blonde hair and blue eyes. If my acting career was at a -1, Ryan's was at a +8. It seemed like he was working regularly in television and movies and had just landed the role of a lifetime. He was playing Sundance in the television remake of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Casting had scoured the country searching for Butch and Sundance. The role of Butch was cast out of New York, and the pilot was shot somewhere in New Mexico. After production wrapped, Ryan returned to LA and told me stories about fast draws, bank robberies, and channeling his inner Robert Redford. Ryan and I both moved on from Leslie's class, and he brought me along to a private coaching session with a teacher he had been working with named Paul. Paul was a gracious man who welcomed me into his studio. Paul had a unique perspective on the craft and essentially gave me a crash course on his acting technique, and something he said took time to sink in, but over time resonated with me. Paul said something to the effect of most, if not every scene I'll be acting in, I'll be with a woman, and throughout the scene, I should be having an orgasm. I wasn't sure I heard him correctly. Did you say having an orgasm? Yes, replied Paul. As wild and out of left field as that sounded, me having an orgasm in all of my scenes, Paul was onto something. Now, he didn't mean an orgasm in the sense of falling on the floor, screaming with delight, or banging on a table like Meg Ryan in When Harry Met Sally. He meant for me to exude sexuality in a subtle and organic way and to infuse that into my work. It took years for Paul's theory to sink into the folds of my cerebellum, probably because I resisted it. I mean, there's no way I could have an orgasm on screen. How would that even work? How would I even get there? Is that legal? Then I flashed back to Advertising 101 and the hidden sex messages in commercials. Professor Murphy would show us images of breasts and water droplets on soda cans, penises and cloud formations, and women holding an umbrella between her legs with a giant smile on her face. It all came back to me in a rush. No pun intended. And it started to make sense. I realized it was time for me to incorporate sex into my repertoire, subtly and subliminally. I started to incorporate this into my commercial auditions. My technique was, before I went into the room, I would think about what turned me on. When I really committed to it, it would radiate from my eyes. The technique worked like gangbusters. My commercial callback ratio was close to 70%. Taking it one step further, I booked lots and lots of commercials. My theory as to why it works is because, one, it helps you as an actor to take the focus off yourself, and as a result, you become less self-conscious. Two, when you have sex on your mind, you have a twinkle in your eye. And three, it becomes a feeling. My success didn't happen overnight, though. To get comfortable in my own skin, to give myself permission to be bold, to take chances and let it ride, I thought of it like this. Millions have come before, and millions will come after. Now is the time to shine, the time to go out there and fuck shit up, metaphorically. When you're selling food in a commercial, for instance, hamburgers, thinking about sex definitely helps. When you're describing the crispy lettuce, the juicy tomatoes, and the special sauce dripping all over your chin, it's a shoo-in. I had an audition for a national network Burger King commercial. In the audition, the session director asked me on camera, "How do you like your burger cooked?" With a twinkle in my eye, I replied, "I'm kind of a simple guy, and I like my burger cooked medium with ketchup only. Bun, ketchup, and meat. No lettuce, no tomato, no pickles, no special sauce." I had no idea how I did, and if I even answered the question correctly. Who knows what they're looking for? When it came to commercials or any auditions for that matter, set it and forget it was my motto. Life goes on. A few days later, I got a Burger King callback. Praise Jesus. At the callback, the whole party was there. The director, the session director, the casting director, the ad agency, and a few people from Burger King, otherwise known as the client. Everything boils down to the client. They make the final decision. The way a commercial is put together goes something like this. Burger King wants to produce a campaign featuring their new product, the Back Porch Griller. If they're not already working with an advertising agency, they put the APB out, All Points Bulletin, out for agencies to pitch them ideas for a Back Porch Griller campaign. The agency's vision that aligns with Burger King's vision gets the nod. The advertising agency then fleshes out the campaign and hires a production company. The production company, with a slate of talented commercial directors, chooses a director whose style would most complement the look of the spot or spots. The chosen director then hires a commercial casting director he or she likes to work with based on the slate of talented actors in their wheelhouse. The commercial casting director will put out a breakdown that goes out to all the commercial agents in town. The breakdown would look something like this. Back Porch Griller, role. Principal, role type. Gender, age, ethnicity, male 20s to 40s, all ethnicities. SAG scale, casting actor with some improv skills. We're looking to cast 4 actors, 20 to 40, that have solid improv comedy skills to be back porch grillers, barbecuing in their backyard. Talent must eat meat. They will be required to eat hamburgers on set. Within the first hour, the casting director will receive thousands of online submissions. For each role, the casting director will bring in about 75 to 100 actors that fit the vision of their mind or who could fill the part. Just getting called into audition was like winning the lottery. When I entered the room in the callback for Burger King, the casting associate started rolling camera, and with a twinkle in my eye, wink wink, I slated my name, showed the front and back of my hands, and the director asked, "What's cooking?" I replied by saying, "Usually what's cooking in my kitchen is pasta with olive oil and Parmesan cheese. I like to keep it simple. If I'm feeling bold, I put a frozen piece of breaded chicken in the toaster, melt some mozzarella on top, and voila, I've got myself a chicken Parmesan with a side of pasta." I left the audition, and within a few hours, my agent called to let me know I was being put on a veil. Being put on a veil means the powers that be want to make sure the actor is available to shoot the commercial on the dates scheduled. Being put on a veil has its pros and cons. The pros is that you're on a short list of actors to play the role, probably 3. The reason production puts 3 actors on a veil is in case one of their choices isn't available, they will just move down the list to their second and third choice. The cons is just that. You're on a short list, but the odds of booking are still 1 in 3, which is a heck of a lot better than the original odds of like 1 in a few thousand. The following day, I got the call that Burger King wanted to book me. Booking a commercial is a big deal because of the potential exposure, the potential earnings, and heck, I was getting hired, or rather paid, to act. I felt like I was pulling the biggest heist of the 21st century. Do you guys want to hear a little more? Okay. The next step in the commercial booking is getting a call from the wardrobe department, which is always exciting because it confirms that you actually got the job and the booking is moving forward. I say this because at any point of getting hired on a Hollywood related job, or any job for that matter, anyone at any time can be replaced. Production can be delayed, or even worse, shut down. Being shut down for lack of funds is pretty rare, especially when it's SAG, because production is required to put a certain amount of the budget into an escrow account to prove that the funds actually exist as a security deposit for the actors working on the job. That's just one of the reasons why union gigs are far superior to non-union gigs. So when Burger King Wardrobe called, they wanted to confirm my sizes. These are the measurements that are listed on my size sheet and received from casting department. For this Burger King job, since I was to be shooting in a backyard, Wardrobe asked me if I could bring some casual summertime clothes. Solid t-shirts, solid polos, light button downs, a few options for shorts and sneakers and sandals. None of the clothes should have any logos on them, which can be distracting. As I lugged the soccer bag, get the clothing request into the wardrobe production office, where there was an entire rack of new clothes in my sizes she had already pulled. For the next hour or so, I tried on different outfits, the wardrobe department. Okay, let me tell you what happened when I got to set. Being on set as a principal performer on a national SAG commercial is incredible. You're treated like a king. When you arrive on set, someone greets you, there's catered breakfast, fresh squeezed juices, coffees, teas, you're escorted to your trailer. It's Disneyland for someone who was out of work yesterday and will be out of work again tomorrow. Nonetheless, getting up early, driving to set, and shooting a 30-second movie feels like the universe is finally in sync. Once you get a taste of it, it's like a drug, and you want more. Let me just see how much is left in this. There's a couple pages left. So maybe I'll pick this up next time, because I know we have some people that need to get up here. So thank you guys for listening and being a part of tonight's creative process, and Jacob for rocking it as always. Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse.